Now, one of the most beloved characters in the Star Wars franchise is, of course, no other than Luke Skywalker himself in the original trilogy, and arguably, a lot of fans have really been very skeptical about his involvement in the sequel trilogy. A lot of fans never really enjoyed that overall representation of the character by Disney. Thankfully, John and Dave did create some level of a turnaround for the character in Mando Season 2 and the Book of Boba Fett. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. And without further ado, let's get right into exactly what's going on with Disney and their current treatment of Luke Skywalker and what lies ahead. Now, we know that Bob Iger has been a very busy man. He's trying to essentially patch the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's trying to bring Star Wars back to its basics, and as well as trying to really restructure the Disney parks, including what to do with the Galactic Star Cruiser event, or the experience, and exactly what they want to turn that into once it closes by this September. Now that brings us to the full-on recast plan for Luke Skywalker / Mark Hamill, and how that's going to be used in various ways in the upcoming Star Wars slate of Star Wars TV shows. Now, what's of course really interesting is exactly what Bob Iger had to say about all of this. He was very specific about what they are planning to do with the character of Luke in the years to come, and how a recast is actually a part of that list. So let's get into all of this. Now, currently, with Disney preparing to make big decisions for the future of Star Wars, they recently have been working on specific projects that are going to provide fans with ever-evolving moments in the Star Wars universe. Now, recently, Disney CEO Bob Iger got on the subject of Luke Skywalker and his return when he was questioned about Mark Hamill. He then delivered the following to the entire fan base. "We have come to realize how important this character is to fans. For us to realistically continue on with this character for the years to come, we have discussed the plans of a recast that are now moving forward, along with the help from Mark Hamill when need be for certain moments where a recast is not needed. We are finding the right balance between finding a new actor to take on the role of Luke, as well as Mark Hamill providing his help with taking a part in making that possible in other areas. We are very happy to say that ILM has been creating groundbreaking technology that will allow recasting to also meet with technologies such as CG and special new techniques that we can't really disclose just yet." Now, let me just pause here about what all of this is alluding to. Now, you guys may not be aware, but we talked about this, that they do plan to recast Luke. This is a full-on big plan of Disney's, as of course Iger is acknowledging this now. But it's not going to be like Hamill will never return for the role of Luke again, even though Hamill is and has been very busy kind of making it like he's done with that. It's actually quite the opposite. So basically what is happening behind closed doors is Mark Hamill will be back as Luke in very unique ways in specific key scenes of upcoming shows and/or projects, while other overly demanding scenes are going to require a recast. So to be very specific with each and every one of you guys out there, a recast is happening for Luke, but it's not going to be in its entirety. It's not going to be a consistent thing. So basically they're going to use this recast when need be, essentially. So for example, we have an upcoming series called Star Wars Jedi Knight. That's the current code name, by the way. Luke will be one of the characters popping in and out of the show because it's going to focus on his new Jedi Order set after the events of Return of the Jedi, where one of the major areas is going to deal with overly demanding scenes where they need a full-on recast to portray the role of Luke. Now, what's interesting about that is that separate from what Iger stated, what's happening behind the scenes, of course, is what is actually going to involve Mark Hamill and how he will be back for the role of Luke in only some projects, while other projects that are more demanding and aggressive are going to require a recast. This involves heavy action scenes without the hood over his head. This is to satisfy all fans, a strategy by Disney to test the waters of what works best and to work from there. So far, Hamill has been approached to make an appearance in Ahsoka Season 2 with new de-aging technology that is revolutionary by ILM, while also actor Sebastian Stan has been approached to take part as Skywalker in a new series dubbed Jedi Knight. Additionally, actor Graham Hamilton will also continue to take Hamill's place in the upcoming shows. Hamill is also in the talks to reprise his role as Luke in the form of flashbacks as a slightly older version of Luke for the Rey film, even though he denied any kind of return. This is part of his instructions by Disney. So what's interesting about this is that you're going to get different variations of Luke, different iterations of the character that we have never seen before. So basically for the Rey film, what's happening right now is that they are already pre-planning a couple of flashback scenes for Luke to take part in, where it's going to be a somewhat older version of the character, but not quite as old as you saw him in the sequels. Basically, the flashback that you saw in The Last Jedi, a little bit younger than that, is what they're aiming for. And that's going to be interesting, to say the least. Now, the thing about how they do plan for Graham Hamilton and Sebastian Stan to be the main two actors to replace Mark Hamill and to recast the character is interesting because, look, it did technically work for the Book of Boba Fett. I know some fans didn't really like the portrayal of Graham Hamilton playing Luke in the Book of Boba with the use of deepfake technology. But at the same exact time, they also want to do a regular, real, legitimate recast using Sebastian Stan in the upcoming Star Wars Jedi Knight series. Now look, at the end of the day too, we gotta realize this, is that this is basically Disney's way of testing the waters. What's gonna work, what's not gonna work, and they can move on from there. I think that a recast is fine as long as it's going to be extremely hard to tell who is who, and as long as they use some kind of overlaying techniques, which, by the way, is what they do plan to do with Sebastian Stan as well, similar to what they did with Graham Hamilton. Now, some fans out there didn't like how Luke was represented in the Book of Boba Fett. I've noticed some fans are saying things like, it felt too robotic, the way his voice sounded. It felt a little too, CGI-ish in some shots. And look, I think at the same exact time, they did a great job. It's always a evolutionary process. It's way better than what we got in Mando Season 2. And John and Dave want to make sure that this deepfake technology is only going to get better and better. In Mando Season 2, it was just pure CGI. It was different. They used archived footage, stuff like that. But here, what they're doing for Ahsoka Season 2 and how Luke is going to be a heavy presence in that, and as well as these upcoming Star Wars shows, they want to have multiple options available to really kind of pull from that and to kind of give us different iterations of Luke as a whole. So, overall, guys, I would love to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments. Anything ranging from your thoughts on Luke getting recast and Hamill getting replaced in some scenes for upcoming shows. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to moon we hear